Welcome to your AEW Dynamite review here on the Solomonster Sounds Off YouTube channel. What's going on, guys? Wednesday night, January 13, 2021. I am the Solomonster, night 2 of New Year's Smash in the books. Put to bed once and for all. Thought it was a decent show. I gotta tell you, I don't know that I was really feeling this episode the way that I felt part 1 last week. I think this show was saved by... maybe saved is too strong of a word, but saved by an excellent main event between Darby Allin and Brian Cage for the TNT Championship. Even though I kind of felt guilty watching that match. Parts of that match, I'd say the first half, it felt like I should be picking up my phone and calling the authorities like I was watching a crime being committed. I did feel a little bit guilty. Although I gotta tell you, I did enjoy watching Cage just chuck Darby Allin 10 feet out of the ring down through the timekeeper's table. That was the spot of the night for me. I enjoyed that. But I'm a sick fuck. What can I say? We'll get into the whole show as we go on here. Thank you for pushing, by the way, the channel to 61,000 subscribers. It happened yesterday. Feels like only yesterday we hit 60. So now it's on to 62. So I want to thank everybody who has subscribed. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. You better get on that. Hit that subscribe button. That way when new videos go up, when I go live, you guys will be alerted. Make sure notifications are on. Hit that bell. Special super chat amounts are down below in the description if you want to send a super chat in. Have your message highlighted and pop up on screen here during the stream. Including, yes, the Mantar one. That is the new one. I do want to plug one thing here. Before we get into tonight's show, for those who may not be aware, I know it's a couple of weeks later than I had wanted to do it, but earlier today I did get up my top 10 matches of 2020 video. WWE, AEW, New Japan, some honorable mentions in there as well. That hit a few hours ago here on the channel, almost an hour long. So if you missed it, be sure to check that out. If you got time to kill tomorrow, 52 minutes to be exact. Top 10 matches of 2020 from number 10 all the way down to number 1. Interesting list. I've gotten some interesting feedback. So I want to hear from you guys. You chime in too. Chime in the comment section under the video. Let me know if you agree with the list. If your list looks different than mine. If you would rank things differently. I want to hear from you. So definitely go ahead and check that out. So tonight's show kicked off with Pac one-on-one against Eddie Kingston. That was our opener tonight. These two have had issues now for a while. Of course, Death Triangle was a thing in AEW. Pac went away for many months due to the pandemic. Eddie Kingston made his debut. He linked up with the Lucha Bros. And that was sort of the genesis of this rivalry between these two. It culminated in a match here tonight. Good stuff, and I honestly think this was probably one of the best matches I've seen Eddie Kingston in since debuting in AEW. I mean, I know he had the match with Jon Moxley. I think he had 2 of them. And those were what they were. I mean, given the stipulations, given who was involved, a lot of hardcore type of stuff. This was just a straight-up wrestling match, and I thought it was very good. Pac stunned Kingston on the top rope with an enziguri before following that up with a superplex. He was selling all kinds of injuries here. Eddie Kingston, he was selling his neck, his shoulder. He was selling all different kinds of... well, I'm sure he's got plenty of injuries from his career anyway. But Pac was on the offense until Kingston hit a big lariat for a near fall. And Pac countered a DDT, hit a running drop kick, and then the Black Arrow. Still one of the prettiest moves in all of wrestling. He doesn't bust it out often, and I like that. I like the fact that he doesn't use it in every single match. But when he hits that move, it should be protected at all costs. I don't want to see anybody, at least not until some big pay-per-view match, kicking out of the Black Arrow. He's got to put that on reserve, save it for big occasions. I don't even know that I would have used it here tonight. As soon as he won with it, he just locked the brutalizer on Eddie Kingston. He probably could have won with that. But I guess Kingston doesn't give up, right? It would kind of be, I don't know, would be against what he believes in for him to tap out. But this was good. I actually thought this was good. Now, As he locks him in the brutalizer, in come the Butcher and the Blade. Pac lets go. Now we have a standoff. We have Pac and the Lucha Bros. We have the Death Triangle on one side. We've got Eddie Kingston, the Butcher, and the Blade on the other side. Out comes Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. They hit the ring. Butcher, Blade, Kingston, they all bail. And Archer gets up in Pac's face, tells him that he better get in line. And then he leaves. So, a little tease there for Pac against Lance Archer. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Obviously, big size difference between these two, but I feel like these two could go in there and probably tear it up pretty good. So, I'm looking forward to that match. Clearly, it's headed that way. They have a big themed episode of Dynamite coming up in about, 3 weeks? Beach break. Beginning of February, that might be a good place to get the match done. What do you think? Am I alone in thinking that this was one of the better Eddie Kingston matches we've gotten in AEW? Maybe the best. Maybe the best straight wrestling match that Eddie Kingston has had since coming to AEW. That's how I felt. So as good as I felt about the opener, not so much about this next match. Part of that is the fact that I just don't care about any of this. I don't care about this story. I don't care about Gamer Miro and Kip Sabian. I don't care. It doesn't do it for me. We had Miro one-on-one against Chuck Taylor, who was out there with Orange Cassidy. Stipulation was that if Chuck Taylor lost the match, he would have to become Miro's young boy. Although tonight they said he would have to become his butler up until Kip Sabian gets married at the beginning of next month. Chuck got a flurry of offense early at the beginning of the match. Once Miro gained control, which didn't take too long for that to happen. Once that happened, it was basically a glorified squash match at that point. Samoan drop, jumping thrust kick. The camel clutch, he calls game over. And Chuck Taylor didn't put up much of a fight. He taps out. And that means that Chuck Taylor now has to become his butler. What is this, a fucking episode of Seinfeld? Get in a car accident. The judge decrees you got to become the guy's butler. Are we really dipping into Seinfeld storylines now here on this show? Is this what Miro has been reduced to? Being part of a Seinfeld storyline on Dynamite? I would say look how far he's fallen, but really from where he was at the end of his WWE run, he didn't have much farther to fall. He's just sort of, he's sort of trudging along there at the very bottom of the ocean. I'm still waiting for him to rise back up to the top. When's that going to happen? I gotta say this about Chuck Taylor. Without Trent, without Best Friends doing their thing, in the tag team division, this whole Butler thing is probably the best thing that could have happened to Chuck Taylor. It is the best thing that could have happened to him because without it, he would be dead in the water. He's dead in the water anyway. But at least this could potentially end up being somewhat interesting. Maybe it'll be entertaining. We'll see. It's probably the only way you could get me to care about Chuck Taylor in this situation. I just don't care. I really don't. It doesn't do anything for me. Does not do anything for me. And if you were to say to me, well, of Best Friends, if they were going to go, Splitsville at some point, who's got more potential? Maybe a TNT title contender at some point. Oh, it's Trent. I mean, without question, it's Trent. I don't see any future as a single for Chuck Taylor. On Dark, maybe, but not on Dynamite. But maybe this will get me to care a little bit about him. We'll see. Backstage, we've got Matt Hardy and Private Party. Last week, we heard Matt Hardy was going to become their new manager. He's their new agent. He signed them to contracts. He's taken 30% of their income. But he said he was going to let them continue to appear on third-party platforms because he's not a monster. Haha. But Mark Quinn is very upset. Can't let go of this whole idea that, Matt, you're taking 30% from me. That's a lot of money. And Matt didn't like them talking back and said, look, it's the best thing that could have happened to you. Me being with you guys, yeah, I'm taking 30%, but It's the best thing that could happen to you guys. You guys are lost without me. You guys are going to make millions anyway. It's not just about the money. He was saying you got to read the fine print. Apparently, the stipulation, it isn't just that he's going to be taking the 30%. Now, unless I misunderstood, I think he also said taking money from those third-party platforms. That's part of why they were upset. And he was saying, look, it was in the contract. You guys signed the contract. Okay, you put your signature down. You signed the contract. And you should have read the fine print. Always read the fine print. Let that be a lesson, okay? To all the kids who are going to be watching this, I don't know why you would be at 10:30 at night, but for all the kids out there who are watching this, or who are going to watch this, or listen to this, or what have you, always read the fine print. It's a good life lesson to have. I'm sure there's a lot of people in WWE who wish they had read the fine print on their contracts before they put their signature on the dotted line. And they're locked in for 3 years. They're locked in for 5 years. And they feel trapped. Always read the fine print. A lesson from Matt Hardy. By the way, I hear Matt Hardy and Rebby are having another kid. They're having a girl. They've had boys up to this point. How many boys do they have at this point? Right? We have King Maxwell. There's Wolfgang. I thought there was a third one. Is there another boy? I think there's a third boy. Because I think this is going to be their fourth kid. Hey, maybe they're going to be the next Hart family. Maybe they're going to have a dozen kids when all is said and done. It's like, Matt, boy, when he goes home, you could take it easy, you don't have to always be working so hard. I think this is going to be baby number 4. Is it 3 boys? All right, Jared in the chat says 3 boys. Big Armada says 2 boys. Look at this. We don't even know how many kids he has. He has so many of them. Boy. Hey, look. They got happy marriage there, the two of them have. I don't begrudge them for it, but man. Just calm down, Calm down. Easy there. Easy there, big fella. We got some super chats already filing on in here. Naif Al-Safar, thank you. You're number 1 tonight, man. You chimed in first 45 minutes ago, dropping some super chat. Lord Frieza. Hope you're doing well, Lord Frieza. And Alex Jimenez, thank you for the $7, man. So this Florida man is going to be in the crowd next week. All right, Alex is going to Dynamite. Well, if I take phone calls next week, try calling in after the show, and we'll try to get you on the air. Florida man, huh? Got a lot of those down there. Speaking of Florida man, the COVID god himself, Chris Jericho, he was out next with the Inner Circle to share their New Year's resolutions. Oh, there she is. There's Reba. We saw Reba on the waiting room tonight. I'm going to be talking about that here in a second. But the COVID god, with the rest of the Inner Circle, they come down to the ring. And they're going to tell everybody what each of their New Year's resolutions are here for 2021. We have Jake Hager, who apparently is some kind of just Neanderthal. He can't talk in complete sentences. Now he just shouts stuff. He goes, championships. Short and to the point. Look, when you're not a good promo, and Jake Hager is not a good promo, you got to talk in sound bites. It's very important that you just keep it pithy, okay? Nobody wants to hear Jake Hager go out there and cut a 10-minute long promo. All he needs to do, really, is come out and just shout 1 word, 2 words. Me, championships. Got it. Say no more. That's how he needs to cut promos in AEW. So he said championships. MJF says, I just want to strengthen the bonds amongst all of us here in the Inner Circle. I just want all of our friendships to just become stronger here in the new year. And then he stuck it, he stuck another little resolution in there. He says, fat people, they've got to go. He has no use for fat people. I didn't know if that was some kind of a little inside joke with Jericho after that whole fiasco a few weeks ago where all the NBA fans on Twitter went after Jericho or not, but MJF has no use for fat people. Ortiz says that he wants to perfect his madre's sofrito, and he wants to make some arroz con gandules. Did I get that right? Arroz con pollo is my favorite meal personally. What is gandules? What is that? I feel like I should know what that is. I don't know what that is. What is gandules? If it was arroz con pollo, I'd be all over that. That's me. When I went to, where did we go? Costa Rica. That's all I ate. Everywhere we went. No matter where we went, little mom and pop restaurant or some other, place at the resort. Wasn't really a resort. We went from hotel to hotel. But the safest thing, arroz con pollo. Because I didn't know what was in anything else. I got to stay away from like anything with cream or cheese or... So the easiest thing to do is just arroz con pollo. Okay, so everybody in the chat says pigeon peas. Rice with beans. I'm getting conflicting. You are so white. You couldn't tell? Really? Should I adjust the temperature here on my light? You couldn't tell that? For how long you been watching me for? Jesus Christ. I've said I'm the whitest man you know. Jericho said he wants to become tag team champions with MJF. That was his resolution. Yeah, KC, it sucks. I know, man. No cream cheese. No cream or cheese. I know they have pills for it, but I don't take any chances. Let alone if I'm in a foreign country. The last fucking thing you want to be doing is taking chances that you don't want to be taking, okay? The plumbing down in Central America isn't really as good as it is here in America. And even in America, in a lot of places, it sucks. So you got to be real careful. I think the biggest shock to me, one of the hotels we were in, I walk into the bathroom and on the wall is a sign in big black lettering. And it says, please do not put toilet paper in the toilet. And this was such a foreign concept to me because I'm standing there thinking, well, where is it supposed to go? What do you expect me to do here? I mean, I'm sharing a room with two other people. I mean, there's like a little waste paper basket. I go, this is not going to be a very fun night if we all have to share that one little waste paper basket. But look, the plumbing isn't great in some of these places. That's just how it is. So I stick to arroz con pollo. Santana said that, wait a minute. He said, Chris, when you recruited us for the inner circle, right, you wanted a great tag team, which is what he and Ortiz are, right? Santana and Ortiz. Proud and powerful. So he was kind of taken aback when Jericho said that he was going to win the tag team titles with MJF. Sammy Guevara jumps in and he accuses Jericho of being, and I quote, a tag team slut. Speaking of Sammy, I know he was in a bit of a Twitter tiff this week with T-Bar of Retribution. I get the sense T-Bar he doesn't care. He's got to realize that he is in an absolute shit gimmick. So he just says the wildest things sometimes on Twitter. But he got into some kind of a beef about a finishing move that he was accused of stealing, and he said no, and he brought Sammy into the conversation. I think he accused Sammy Guevara maybe of stealing his finish, the Feast Your Eyes move. He called him like a Panda Boy or the Panda Kid or whatever he called him. So then Sammy came back and he had a response for T-Bar. And then I think T-Bar came back and said, how about you don't make jokes about rape? And it was starting to get really dark. Like, because at first you think, okay, maybe these guys are friendly. They're just kind of working. When he brought up the whole Sasha Banks thing, it's like, all right, this is getting a little uncomfortable now. But what else does T-Bar have to do? He's in one of the worst groups ever in wrestling history. All he could do is go on social media and amuse himself. And somehow Sammy Guevara got sucked into that conversation. But, he says, look, Chris, you and I, we used to be Les Sex Gods. You teamed with me. For a while, you teamed with Hager. Now you're going to team with MJF. I mean, Jericho's being passed around here from one guy to the next. So Jericho had an idea. Said, last week we had a singles match. It was Wardlow one-on-one with Jake Hager. And they worked out their differences, right? They beat the hell out of each other. Wardlow won. They got it out of their system. Brothers fight sometimes, right? I used to fight my brother all the time. I would beat the hell out of him. I would put him in a sharpshooter. I would put him in the crossface chicken wing. I would put him in the figure four leg. Oh, it was a lot of fun, I gotta say. But anyway, so yeah, brothers fight. But in the end, it worked out. So why don't we do this? Why don't we, for the first time ever on Dynamite next week, have a three-way match, 3 teams, all members of the Inner Circle. We'll pair off into teams, and whoever wins the match is the official tag team of the Inner Circle. So it's going to be Jericho and MJF, Santana and Ortiz, and it's going to be Sammy and Hager, which Jericho found very amusing. He goes, Sammy Hager. And he's having a nice chuckle. And Sammy Guevara goes, yeah, so what? He didn't get it. Sammy had no idea why Jericho was so amused. And so Jericho was very sad. He looked very sad when he realized that he's fucking old. Reality finally set in for the COVID god, and he realized that, in fact, he is getting a lot older. And Sammy Guevara had no idea who Sammy Hager was. I did like that line, by the way. I did like that line. But the thing about this is, and the segment was fine. I mean, the Inner Circle comedy, I think generally it's more hit than miss. Some of it's funny, some of it isn't. I thought the segment was fine, but what I love is MJF in the Inner Circle is doing exactly what we all thought he would do, even if he's not actively doing it. He is causing chaos within the Inner Circle. He is causing a little bit more week by week by week. He is causing fractures within the Inner Circle. He is causing tumult, like that word, tumult within the Inner Circle. He's causing it to implode from within. So it's really working out exactly the way that I thought it would. Where does it end, though? How long does this go on for? And what is the end? What's the payoff? What's the end result of this? Is MJF going to try to take over from Chris Jericho? Is this going to turn Chris Jericho babyface? Are they going to become hip to what he's doing and kick him out of the group? I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the final payoff is going to be. But so far, it's working out the way that I figured it would. Backstage, we had the Dark Order being interviewed by Alex Marvez. Adam Page was there. He was drinking. Of course he was. And, Alex Marvez brought up the fact that you are now without your leader. Mr. Brody Lee passed away. And a lot of people have had questions about the future of the Dark Order. So I like that they didn't kind of hide from the whole thing. They acknowledge, Brody Lee passed away. It's no big secret. We had the big tribute show a few weeks ago. And people want to know, what does the future hold now for John Silver and Anna Jay and Colt Cabana and Evil Uno and all the members of the Dark Order? And John Silver was acting like John Silver acts. He was marking out for Hangman Page, convinced that Hangman was going to join them. And Hangman was right there, and they wanted to know when he might give an answer next week. Can we get an answer next week? Are you going to join, finally, are you going to join the Inner Circle? And Hangman said, all right, next week. Next week, I will give you my answer about whether or not I'm going to join with all of you guys. Now, next week is -1's birthday. So Brody Lee Jr. may be back on the show next week. I assume he'll be there. He's turning 9 years old. It is the 9-year birthday of Brody Lee Jr. next week, which, that's even sadder. I mean, I thought it was sad enough that the kid lost his father around Christmas, but man, now it's his birthday. You know what, though? Timing-wise, I get it. I mean, I don't know if this is why they're doing it, but if they knew that it was going to be his birthday look, that's going to be tough. I mean, the kid's turning 9 years old. He just lost his father, right? His family has just gone through the worst experience of their lives. And so instead of spending his birthday not alone, I'm sure he would be, he's got his mom, he's got his brother, maybe they have other family. The best birthday gift for him is probably to be there amongst all the wrestlers, because when he's among all the wrestlers, this kid looks like he's on, he's just in fantasy land, he's having the time of his life. So actually, I think that's pretty cool, that he'll get to spend his birthday with all of the AEW guys. But in celebration of his birthday, they're going to hold a special tag team match. It's going to be the Dark Order and Hangman Page against TH2 and Chaos Project. Chaos Project, I think, is that Luther and Serpentico, I believe. So I guess after the match, we'll get our answer. If Hangman Page is going to be leading the Dark Order. The Dark Order is clearly, just based on this segment alone, and we kind of knew this coming out of the Brody Lee stuff. How do you go back to the Dark Order being some kind of heel faction, right? Maybe down the road, but you can't. They're just de facto baby faces now, whether you want them to be or not. They were already acting like baby faces that people liked anyway on Being the Elite, so we knew the Dark Order was probably going to become a babyface group. That was very apparent by this segment here tonight. Question is Hangman Page going to join with them? Now, if you would have asked me this question a month ago before Brody Lee passed away, my answer would have been no. They're going to tease it. And when Brody Lee comes back from what I thought was just an injury, I assumed it was setting up a program and a match between Brody Lee and Hangman Page. And boy, I wish I was fucking right about that. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So I look at the lay of the land right now as far as the main event scene in AEW. You got Kenny Omega, who's the champion. Kenny Omega is going to be the champion for a long time to come. I know he's got the torn labrum. I don't know what the status of that is. Hopefully his shoulder holds out, doesn't get hurt. If he could stay injury-free, he's going to be champion, I think, for a good part of 2021. Jon Moxley is probably going to get his rematch at Revolution next month. I would not rush into Hangman and Omega. You will eventually have to circle back to that because it's the natural match, and I think Hangman should be the one to beat him for the belt. That's later. That's later in the year. When I did my predictions for 2021 last week, actually this past Sunday, one of my predictions was that Hangman would beat him for the title at Full Gear. Well, that's in November. So what the hell does Adam Page do in the meantime? Well, that's why I don't have an issue. If they want to slot him in with the Dark Order, which is going to be a babyface group, make him the leader for a while, even a few months, I don't see anything wrong with that. It gives him something to do. The Dark Order is going to be the feel-good story in AEW for a while if they give maybe a big push to John Silver or somebody like that. I don't have an issue with that. I actually think it's probably the best way to handle Hangman Page for the time being because you're not ready to slot him into that world title picture yet. But he needs something to do. Well, he could become the leader of the Dark Order. Or co-leader. Right? Because we know Negative One is the leader in waiting. But until he turns 18, we have Hangman Page. So I think that's where this is going to end up going. Let's take a few more super chats so we don't save them all for the end. I do read them all, though. So if you send one in, I will read your super chat messages. And thank you in advance, by the way. Every time you guys super chat, and I see that little icon pop up, man, I get a little thrill up my leg. Who's the guy who said he got a thrill down his leg on one of the cable news channels a few years ago? Was it Chris Matthews? What an idiot. Ryan Spies, Luther and John Silver in the same match next week should be absolute gold. Spanish Goddish. Unfortunate prediction, Ethan Page will be the next AEW signing, but man, Cage versus Darby was fire. Fire. Well, why do you say unfortunate about Ethan Page? Do you not like Ethan Page? I thought people liked Ethan Page. And Joe Olivo, what's going on, Joe? Revolution Bullet Club will be reunited with Young Bucks, betraying Moxley and screwing him in his rematch. So that is an interesting prediction there from Joe. Speaking of the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Bucks and Don Callis, they were in the back, getting ready to come out for what we thought was going to be a 6-man tag with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks teamed up, back together again. And right before they were getting ready to come out, Don Callis says, wait a minute. These are the AEW Tag Team Champions. This is the best tag team in the world. The Bucks, Kenny, all you guys deserve to make your own entrances. We're going to make separate entrances here instead of doing the Elite entrance. So out comes Callis and Omega. And as they're building to who we think is going to be the Bucks coming out, instead, who does Don Callis introduce as Kenny Omega's tag team partners? The Good Brothers. Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, the Impact Tag Team Champions. They come out. They cut to a shot in the back. Tony Khan, who rarely makes an appearance on TV, although the segments he's been doing, the paid advertisements on Impact, there's a new one every week. They're gold. They're gold. Those are actually very good. But he was briefly shown in the back watching on a monitor with the Bucks. The Bucks were not happy. They were swerved. They were caught off guard by this announcement. So Omega is going to be out there now all of a sudden with the Good Brothers, and it makes sense because Omega and the Good Brothers are tag team partners this Saturday. Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view. It's going to be the trio of those guys taking on Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns. So you had to know this swerve was coming. You had to know. So it was Omega, Anderson, and Gallows against Brian Pillman Jr., Griff Garrison, and Danny Limelight. I don't know who Danny Limelight is. This is my first exposure. You might say this was his first time in the limelight. I'll show myself out. Take care, guys. No. That was really bad. Oh, that was really bad. Oh, boy. Dad jokes. Dad jokes. And I don't even have any kids that I'm aware of. Brian Pillman pulled double duty tonight, for those of you who don't know. He was not on one wrestling show tonight. Brian Pillman was on 2. He pulled a Rick Rude. He was obviously on this show. He was in the ring with the Elite. And he took the loss not only on this show, but he took the loss on the other show as well. He lost to Mil Muertes on MLW Fusion. Tonight's episode of MLW Fusion. I guess maybe I know he had a contract with them. Now I think he's full-time with AEW. My guess is he's just finishing out dates for them. But he lost to Mil Muertes. This was Mil Muertes' I believe, his big debut in MLW. I think Selena De La Renta brought him in. And I was very excited to hear that because I was a big fan of Mil Muertes in Lucha Underground, but I was a big fan of Mil Muertes and Katrina. So having him introduced by someone else, by a different woman, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Where's Katrina? How come she's not on the show? Where's she been? I need to know these things. I need to know what she's up to. Where is she? What's going on here? Is she coming back? Is she not coming back? How are you going to bring Mil Muertes back and not bring back Katrina? But I think it's very cool that he's able to keep his gimmick. I don't know legally how that worked out, but he has revived the gimmick of Mil Muertes. So yeah, Brian Pillman Jr. had a busy night, not a very successful one. Yes, Khaled Fusion is taped. Actually, tonight's Dynamite was taped as well. So neither show was live. Yes, Mil Muertes is officially in MLW. Mil Muertes was lobbying to be one of Cody's opponents when Cody was doing the open challenge stuff for the TNT title. He was trying to get Cody's attention, and he was trying to lobby people on social media to tweet AEW and let them know they wanted to see Mil Muertes. I guess it wasn't a very successful campaign because he never did show up on TV. But Omega hit the Kataro Crusher on Limelight. They came back from break, and Danny Limelight landed a springboard Hurricane Rana. And he got the hot tag from Brian Pillman Jr. So in comes Pillman. He runs wild. And him and Griff Garrison, they hit a doomsday blockbuster for a near fall on Carl Anderson. So this wasn't a total squash. I mean, maybe it should have been. But, you know, they're bringing in Impact talent here, in this case, to give a little bit of shine, give a little bit of rub to the young AEW talent. I think that's great. I think that's the way to go. Good Brothers went for the gun stun. Limelight tagged in. Carl Anderson stopped his attack with a spine buster. And the Good Brothers hit the Magic Killer for the win. So as they're celebrating, when the match is over, out comes Jon Moxley. And he comes out from the crowd. He heads into the ring. And he's quickly outnumbered. Out come the Lucha Bros. Lucha Bros make the save. They come out. They attack the Impact Tag Team Champions. Young Bucks eventually come out. They try to calm Moxley down. And the Lucha Bros took down the Bucks with stereo super kicks. Giant brawl breaks out. Omega, Callis, they slink away like snakes. They slither away. This really didn't do anything to get me interested any more than I may have already been in seeing the six-man tag on the Impact pay-per-view. And I'm not even sure what I'm doing. I'm not reviewing it live. I mean, I'm sure I'll end up seeing it. And I might talk about it on the Sunday podcast. Yeah, my interest is mild in that. I think it'll be a great match, though. I mean, you look at who's on the Impact side. You got Rich Swann, who's obviously very good. You've got the Motor City Machine Guns. We know their body of work. The potential is there for them to have a real kick-ass main event. But what we saw here just didn't really do much to get me any more excited for the match on Saturday. I think if you're into the angle so far, you're really looking forward to that match at Hard to Kill. If you're kind of on the fence, if this is not really exciting you all that much, then I don't think tonight did anything to really change your mind. But they did tease, this gets me excited. They teased the possibility of maybe a match between the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks. Now, we've seen them feud before. It's been a while. I think enough time has gone by. It's not fresh in people's minds anymore. But you got the Bucks, you got the Lucha Bros. That's a hell of a match. So if that's where we're headed, sign me up. I'm all for seeing that match again. Tenorio. Who do you think is next in line to face Hikaru Shida? Well, I was kind of hoping it would be Britt Baker. Obviously, it's not happening right away because Baker's got some business with Thunder Rosa. But I'm hoping the person who will take the title from Shida is going to be Britt Baker. And then one of my predictions was that the person who would take the title from Baker later in the year would be Thunder Rosa. If we assume that, and I hope that Thunder Rosa will end up full-time in AEW. So that to me is the line of succession here. So that's where I'm hoping the title ends up. Speaking of Britt Baker, perfect timing. You could not have timed that any better. We had the debut edition of The Waiting Room. Not the debut of The Waiting Room, the debut of The Waiting Room on Dynamite. This has been a dark segment, AEW Dark exclusive now for a while. And I love it because it's a throwback to those old WWE style talk shows that we used to get many years ago, where it had its own dedicated set, like in the back of the arena. Now, whether it was the Heartbreak Hotel or the Funeral Parlor, the Brother Love Show, the Snake Pit, the Piper's Pit, whatever. I miss that. You know, even when WWE was doing Carlito's Cabana, it's all like in the ring. Miz TV is in the ring. Right? The Kevin Owens show, it's in the ring. I miss those dedicated locations in the back of the arena. And that's kind of what the waiting room is usually on Dark. And so we had our first installment here on Dynamite. Britt Baker is usually very good very obnoxious, but that's the point. Her and Reba, they have a lot of bad comedy, intentionally bad. But I think Baker has really, you know, it gives her a chance to really show off her personality as a heel. She is much better as a heel than she is as a babyface. So her guest was Cody Rhodes, who did and said absolutely nothing nada during this segment. I don't even know why he was there in the first place, other than they just wanted to announce a big name. Looking back on it, there was absolutely no reason for him to be part of this segment at all. They were going to have him on. They were congratulating him on his upcoming child. Obviously, Brandy is now with child. They're going to be having a kid. And Cody was going to talk about his year. He was going to talk about all that we could expect from him in 2021. But before he could even get a word out comes Jade Cargill, who Britt Baker announced as a special surprise guest. So she pulled an ambush on Cody here on this show. And out walks Jade Cargill. This woman she's well put together. She's in amazing. First of all, she's a big woman, tall. Okay, so she dwarfs a lot of the people who were on the set. She almost dwarfed Cody. Maybe that's why Cody was there. They wanted her to look really big and tall next to him, maybe. But she's in incredible shape. I mean, obviously she comes from the fitness world. I think fitness or bodybuilding. I think that's where she made her name. But she looks fantastic. She's in amazing shape. And she said nobody cares about Brandy's pregnancy. She's very upset because she was hoping to get Brandy in the ring. And I think Brandy was so scared of Jade Cargill that she went and got knocked up by Cody just to get out of this match. So now she can't wrestle her. She has no opponent. She wants to get in the ring with somebody. She wants competition. She says that tell Brandy if she ever comes back, I'm going to beat her ass, is what Jade Cargill says. So Red Velvet walks in, and if you don't watch Dark, and I know her name's been mentioned on Dynamite before, but I feel like if you don't watch Dark, you're thinking, what? Is it cake? What? Red who? Red Velvet. Don't get to see her on Dynamite very often. She walks in. She and Jade start smacking each other. Big pull-apart brawl breaks out. So while all of this is going on, and they're trying to pull these women away from each other, I don't know what happened to Cody. Again, completely pointless him even being there. They completely changed the subject, and Britt Baker is looking up at the giant screen because there is footage playing of the attack from a few weeks ago when she and Reba attacked Thunder Rosa. And she put her in the lockjaw, and she was rubbing water on her makeup to rub the makeup off her face. And that's followed by a brand new promo from Thunder Rosa, who I guess was home. Now, I think the match was supposed to happen this week. It was originally going to be Britt Baker against Thunder Rosa. And I think Thunder Rosa wasn't there because she was potentially exposed to someone who may or may not have had COVID. And so as a precaution, I think she was kept at home. And that's why the match didn't happen. So it looked like she was from home, just kind of filming one of these iPhone promos. But she announced that Tony Khan agreed. The two of them have to wrestle. You can't run from me forever. And she said that Tony Khan has made the match official for the February 3rd Beach Break edition of Dynamite. It is going to be Britt Baker one-on-one with Thunder Rosa. And Britt Baker was totally appalled by this. She said, no, absolutely not. This match is not going to happen. Of course it is. And so she said her goodbyes. That was the end of the waiting room, and the segment was over. The one good thing I will say about this segment is pretty much what I said before. Generally speaking, like when I see the waiting room segment on Dark, they had a great one with Chris Daniels and Kazarian a few weeks ago. Britt Baker is really good in these. And I like the idea of doing it. I like the whole environment for it, atmosphere, whatever you want to call it. That's the best thing I could say. I thought this segment was, overall, it was just a terrible segment. I didn't think this was really good at all. I was very disappointed when it was over. It was just all over the place. I mean, again, why was Cody there? Cody had no business even being there. He was just like a bump on a pickle. He just stood there. And then it just went in a totally different direction. Like, we're having all of this going on, and then it just shifts over to a totally different story. And the other thing also is, we have this pull-apart brawl one segment after we had another pull-apart brawl. So you had two segments, I think, back-to-back We just saw that. And now we had another one here in this segment. I didn't like this. I had high hopes for this segment. Well, maybe not high hopes, but generally I like these. This one, though, this was a mess. I thought this was no good. We had FTR taking on Jurassic Express, but not Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy and Marko Stunt. I'm sure that pleased all the Marko Stunt fans out there, all three of them. But who cares about Marko Stunt? Let's talk about what matters here. This was the debut on Dynamite of Jungle Boy's new theme song. Jungle Boy's new theme song is Jungle Boy's old theme song from when he was on the independent scene, Tarzan Boy by Baltimore. Tony Khan bought the rights to the music as a Christmas gift for Jungle Boy. This was one of these one-hit wonder type songs from the 80s. I mentioned a few weeks ago, I knew this song the first time I ever heard this song. I'm sure I heard it on the radio at some point. It was in a Listerine commercial. And I love it. It's just a catchy song. And it fits. Obviously, for Jungle Boy, there's a reason he was using it before he came to AEW. Well, Tony Khan bought the rights, and so he comes out, and they're playing Tarzan Boy. Now, it was brief, but man, he's coming out to the ring, and I'm just like, man, and I'm doing the Tarzan yell, I'm pounding my chest, man, I'm loving it. I'm just waiting for the fans to get back in the buildings, and I'm not talking about 500 people or 1,000 people. I'm talking about like 5,000 people or Double or Nothing or something next year with like 10,000 people at the MGM Grand. And I know by then it'll kind of be old news, but I want him to come out to that music. I want to see a whole arena full of people doing that Tarzan chant during the chorus of that song. That's what I'm waiting for. This song is going to make this guy an even bigger star than he otherwise would have been. I love it. Love that song. And no, I didn't see it in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 because I never saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. I saw clips of it. I saw the first two. I saw clips of the third one. They go back in time or something to the samurai age. I'm like, I don't need this. This looks terrible. And then every review I saw pretty much confirmed what I thought, which is that it's not worth my time. No, I don't know it from that movie. I know it from a Listerine commercial. I'm not sure which is worse. But the match. The match was better than I expected it to be, honestly. It was better than with Marko Stunt in there because usually, I don't know, he's played up for comedy. You don't see him in a lot of matches that are treated overly seriously. We haven't seen him in a lot of matches on Dynamite recently. I can't speak for Dark. Story was that he held his own in the ring with one of the best teams in all of AEW, right? Former AEW Tag Team Champions. And this kid was in there holding his own. FTR, they were beating him down for a long time. They were beating off Marko Stunt here for a good chunk of time. Jungle Boy eventually gets the hot tag. And Marko hit a tope through Jungle Boy's legs. Jungle Boy's on the middle rope. Legs spread. And Marko Stunt hits a suicide dive to the floor. Jungle Boy finishes the sequence out with a moonsault down onto FTR. So during the break, FTR took control of the match again, double teaming Marko Stunt. And Stunt got out of a gory special with a roll-up, avoided a power bomb, got to Jungle Boy for the second hot tag of the match. And he hit a whole series of moves, backstabber on Dax Harwood for a near fall. So Jungle Boy and Harwood, they're up on the top rope. And Jungle Boy hits a top rope Hurricane Rana. Cash Wheeler breaks up the pin. Breaks up the pinfall. Harwood rolls up Jungle Boy with a fistful of trunks, but he kicks out at 2, and Marko Stunt tags in. He goes for sliced bread, and Harwood took care of that. Put him down with a lariat. So Marko Stunt is Roman, the Tribal Queen. Roman Reigns. Food Hive, thank you for the super chat, man. Look at those earrings. Look at that. You could fit Marko Stunt through one of those hoop earrings. Marko Stunt rolls outside. Tully Blanchard is out there, and Tully has no use for Marko Stunt. He shoves him face first into the ring post. Jungle Boy comes over. Tully's backing off. And Jungle Boy does not see Wheeler, who takes him down with a lariat. Sends him into the barricade, And back in the ring, FTR hits the big rig on Marko Stunt for the win. That is the new name of their finisher in honor of Brody Lee. Brody Lee used to go by Big Rig, I think, on the independent scene many years ago. That was a nickname that some people referred to him as. So in tribute to Brody Lee, their finish is now called the Big Rig. And FTR picks up the win. Naima Khan with the $13 super chat. As you are a fan of Die Hard, the legendary Alan Rickman died on the 14th of January in 2016. Can we get a Hans Gruber impression? I can't do Hans. I don't know if I could do Hans Gruber, but Hans Gruber is one of the all-time great movie villains. Ever. In any movie. It's great. Although I guess if I could try one. Ho, ho. Oh, I can't do it. I was going to do the scene where he's reading the note from McClane where it says, ho, 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 now I have a gun. Or I have a gun too or something. I can't do it. I can't do it. Hans Gruber was great. I was very sad to hear that when Alan Rickman passed away. NWA Women's Championship. Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb defending against Tay Conti with Anna Jay in her corner. Very interesting how Tay Conti enters through the babyface tunnel and Anna Jay and the Dark Order enter at the same time through the heel tunnel. They don't come through the same tunnel. So that's a little observation. A lot of chain wrestling at the start of the match. This is good stuff here, actually. Good back and forth between these two women. Conti went for a triangle sleeper. Serena Deeb escaped. Hit a sliding lariat for a 2 count. And so they go back and forth with cradles. Conti takes down Serena with a pump kick. Full Nelson into a stunner. Got 2 for Tay Conti. Serena countered another hold into a stretch muffler, one of my favorite moves. The stretch muffler. Conti, though, got to the ropes. Countered the Serenity Lock into a cradle. And Deeb hit a gut buster for a near fall. So Serena puts Tay Conti up on the top rope, and she uses the ropes as leverage for a gory special. Conti countered out of it, hit a pump kick, and went for the Tay KO, her big move. But Deeb ended up hitting her with her finish for the win. Good stuff from these two, and I continue to be impressed by these NWA women's title matches on these shows. And look, WWE's loss on Tay Conti is AEW's gain. And I said that when she left the company, when she got cut from WWE, which I think was almost a year ago. I think she got swept up in that wave of cutbacks, the COVID cuts back in April. I couldn't understand why she was never really given a chance. I mean, here's a woman who was trying to come up with ideas of her own in NXT when they weren't doing anything with her. She just wanted to do something. And I remember she had a shirt. I talked about this before. And the shirt said something like, oh God, it was something like handcuffed or because she felt like she was being handcuffed in a lot of ways. And then she was told, no, you can't do that. Don't wear that shirt. So it's like, you got to understand how frustrated I'm sure that she was. Here's a woman who didn't even know what WWE stood for. She didn't know what the initials WWE even meant. Somebody in the company saw like a photo shoot that she had done. Here's this beautiful, this beautiful Brazilian woman. And she thought WWE was like prostitution or something, which at different times over the years it has been. But she went from that a few years ago to being a pretty good wrestler for her level of experience, and she's improving all the time. And I say WWE's loss was AEW's gain. I think, it may take a little while, but she'll only get better, I think, over time. And I think she'll turn into a very good wrestler and potentially a very strong part of that women's division. So it still boggles my mind that WWE just didn't see anything in her. I mean, unless there was some kind of, who knows? Maybe they thought she had a bad attitude or something. You know what, though? In that company, who the fuck knows? All the mind games that you hear about when people leave and they talk about some of the shit that goes on there, and just the childish bullshit. It's like working there is like a mind fuck. Why would anybody want to put themselves through that? Anyway, she's better off in AEW. Let's check up with some of your super chats. The True Heel Master, $5 super chat. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers were basically having a warming up match on Dynamite to get ready for the Impact pay-per-view. That is true. Big main event coming up Saturday night. By the way, I hear that Josh Matthews is no longer the lead announcer on Impact Wrestling. He has been promoted. That's what you call a promotion demotion. He may have been promoted to a higher position. I hope he's getting paid more. Usually that's what happens when you get promoted. So if he's making more money, then hey, good for him. But he was taken off commentary. That's a demotion. I mean, he's been the announcer there for how many years now? Now I think Matt Stryker and D'Lo Brown, I think, are going to be the announce team. Stryker is very hit or miss with me. For the most part, I enjoyed Stryker and Lucha Underground. I like the combo of him and Vampiro. But Stryker has a tendency to really, he can really get under your skin. But he's a good announcer. He's a good commentator. So I'm curious, actually, how they develop. If they develop a good chemistry together. But the big news is that Josh Matthews is no longer on commentary on Impact Wrestling, which means that if I happen to watch the Impact pay-per-view on Saturday, I won't have to think about muting the commentary. Unless he's doing commentary, maybe Saturday's his last night. All I know is that he's been promoted and they have a new team. But anyway, so that's good news. The main event was Darby Allin defending the TNT Championship against the FTW champion, Brian Cage. Born Sinner says, Stryker drips, disingenuous, and fake. I'll say this about Matt Stryker. That he does. Sometimes he does. He'll be very over the top, and it sounds very forced and fake. But the thing about Matt Stryker is he is a fan. He is a fan. And I heard plenty of stories because he trained with Johnny Rodz at his school in Brooklyn or Queens, Brooklyn. It was in Brooklyn, and he would often come back. A lot of times, he would always come back and he would watch the shows, and he would. I don't know if he was there like to recruit new talent for WWE, but he would always come back and just again check out the talent and the new kids coming up and stuff. And he just always came off in the times I met him as a legit fan. And that actually was to his detriment when he was in WWE. If you remember that Royal Rumble, the year they had the big 40-man Rumble match on commentary, like when Diesel came out and Booker T came out, I'm marking out, bro. He actually said that on commentary. You can just, the douche chills that were radiating from Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler, you can feel them through the television screen. He's on commentary. I'm marking out, bro. Like, come on. So yeah, you have those moments, but he's a fan. That's why. So sometimes he just kind of gets, he loses sight of that sometimes when he's doing commentary. But I can't hate on somebody too much who's a legit fan, even after all these years. Still remember when it was big news here in New York. He was a school teacher who got caught moonlighting as a wrestler and he got fired. I mean, that was the whole big thing with Matt Stryker when he first got discovered. Main event was Darby Allin against Brian Cage for the TNT title. They were really pushing the 100-pound weight difference between these two. 102. Tony Schiavone said it was 102 pounds. They also aired, and I forgot to mention this, a really good video package earlier in the show, hyping up this match. It was very well done. And part of the story that they told in the video was the fact that if you go back, and this is long-term storytelling here, many, many, many months ago, Taz was trying to recruit Darby Allin. He was trying to give him advice, and Darby said, I don't need your advice. You know, he was rebuffing every time Taz would try to just offer his services to him, he was rebuffed by Darby Allin, which is why Team Taz is at war with Darby Allin, because Taz was embarrassed. He felt slighted and disrespected. So they covered all of that in the video. Darby comes out, and immediately hits a tope through the ropes to start the match. Back into the ring, he goes for another, and Cage, as Darby is shooting through the ropes like a missile, Cage catches him in position for a vertical suplex. And he drops him on the floor, suplexes him on the outside. Then came the spot of the match. Then came the spot of the entire night. This was awesome. Maybe not for Darby, but Brian Cage gorilla presses this guy up into the air. All 170 pounds, they claim, of Darby Allin. And he chucks him a good 10 feet out of the ring, down through the timekeeper's table, where Justin Roberts usually sits. That table exploded upon impact. So it wasn't like a little table break, or even worse, the table didn't break and he bounced and slid off. This table, it's as if there was TNT. I know the show airs on TNT, but if there was an actual stick of TNT underneath and somebody just detonated it at the exact moment that this fucking guy hit the table, it looked awesome. It really, it looked great. And Darby came up, he had a gash on his head, he was bleeding from the head. Cage spent the next several minutes just throwing this guy around. Again, I felt almost guilty watching this. I felt like I should call somebody. I'm witnessing a murder. Please hurry. Although this was not a live show, this was taped. He's throwing him around. He hits a gigantic F5. 3 straight power bombs, hard power bombs to Darby Allin. And Darby just looks up at Cage and he just flips him off. He flips him the bird. So Cage picks him up again, power bombs him out of the ring onto the ramp. Hard. And again, Darby looks over at him and he flips him off. He just keeps coming back. He will not quit. He will not give up. Cage drags the ring steps over by the side of the ring. And when he gets up on the apron, Darby manages to knock him backward. Now he's holding on. Cage is holding on. Darby bites his hand. And Cage falls backwards. Flat back bump right on the ring steps. Darby immediately goes to the top rope. Comes off the top rope onto the steps with a coffin drop. That was cool. So these guys were just killing each other. Now they're both down on the outside. Inside, Darby takes off his belt. The belt that holds up his pants, not the TNT belt. Takes his belt off, ties up Cage's feet. Didn't matter. 20 seconds later, Cage was untying the belt. And as he got the belt off, Darby comes over, hits a code red for a near fall. Ricky Starks, he's out there. Darby's going up top. Ricky Starks crotches him on the top. And as soon as the referee's attention is diverted, Ricky Starks crotches Darby Allin on the top rope. The lights go out. And when the lights come back on, Darby's dad is at ringside. And Sting has the baseball bat. And for the first time since debuting in AEW, because this fucking guy has been on every show, every single show this guy has been on since debuting. You would think, Sting, he's a special attraction. Save him. Skip a week here. Skip a week there. Nope, every week here's Sting. Well, this is the first time that he's gotten physical. And he took that baseball bat and he buried it in Ricky's gut. He actually hit him twice with the baseball bat. So that's the first bit of action that we've seen from Sting. God, since the match with Seth Rollins, probably, right? Which is almost, it'll be 5.5 years almost. It's really the last time we've seen Sting do anything physical on a wrestling TV show. So he took Ricky Starks out of the equation. Cage is on the middle rope on the inside, and he's getting ready to deliver what I can only assume is going to be a Samoan drop to Darby. Darby counters that into a crucifix bomb off the ropes, and he gets the pin. So the FTW champion takes the pin here in this match. Darby Allin retains the TNT title. This was a hell of a fucking match. This will not go down as match of the year or anything that people remember, I think, when the year is over. Like I think they will the Kenny Omega-Rey Fenix match. But this was a fucking war. Darby took a hell of a beating in this match. I thought these two were great together, and I thought this match, again, I was not really overly excited by the rest of the show. But this main event kind of redeemed it. This was a hell of a main event between these two. And Tony Schiavone, as they're getting ready to end the show, does his old, we're desperately running out of time, and they went to black. You like the Tony Schiavone bumper, by the way? I interviewed Tony on the podcast a few years ago. You know, Tony now, when he talks about how he came to come to AEW, he talks about how he was out of wrestling. WWE made an offer to him. Cody didn't want him going to WWE. Tony's wife didn't want him going to WWE. According to Tony Schiavone, his wife said, I don't care how much money they offer you. I don't want you to go back there. And he said the reason why is his wife just, in his words, Tony Schiavone's wife has has a really bad feeling about them. So she doesn't want him going back to WWE. And so he takes the gig with AEW. You would never even know that Tony Schiavone spent a good amount of time actually working for MLW as an announcer. It's almost like it never even happened. He just doesn't even acknowledge it. I don't know why. I'm not aware of there being any kind of bad blood there. But I had the chance to interview Tony while he was, back in wrestling, but doing commentary for MLW. And so I made sure when we did the interview that I got him to do the bumper for the show, and that's the bumper he did for the show. I played it at the beginning of the podcast again on Sunday. And we're desperately out of time. So there he is using that as a sign-off here on the on TNT. Yet again here this week. So my prediction, to go back to the predictions that I had on the Sunday show, my prediction was that Sting would have 3 cinematic matches this year. There'll be one with Chris Jericho, because you know it's going to happen. There'll be one with Cody Rhodes. But the first one that I had in my predictions was Sting and Darby, not as opponents, but Sting and Darby as partners against Team Taz, cinematic style. And I do think that's where we're headed. How can we not be? If Sting continues to get involved in Team Taz's business, and he's already acknowledged publicly that he is going to have matches in AEW, they likely are going to be cinematic style. Is that not the matchup? Seems like that's the direction we're going in to me. Sting and Darby together as partners against some combination of Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, or Will Hobbs and Ricky Starks, some combination of that. Now, do they wait until Revolution? I would wait, absolutely. I mean, I know they have Beach Break coming up at the beginning of next month. If you're going to have Sting in a match, even if it's cinematic, you better save that for a fucking pay-per-view. And Revolution is one of their big 4 shows of the year. Save it for Revolution. I know it's still a ways off. Revolution is not until the end of next month. So you're going to have to find a way to drag this out. Maybe they don't want to do that. But to me, if you're going to have Sting in a match, you're going to promote Sting, back, maybe not in the ring, but he's going to actually have a match. You got to do that on pay-per-view. You can't do that on Dynamite. Next Wednesday, Dynamite is going to be live again. What is that? Wesley, are you being funny? That better be a joke. Next Wednesday, Dynamite is back live, and it's going to be Chris Jericho and MJF, Santana and Ortiz, and Sammy Hager. Those are your 3 teams next week. The winners will be the official, team of the Inner Circle, going after the tag team titles. Matt Hardy and Private Party take on Matt Sydal and Top Flight. You've got -1, Brody Lee Jr., the big birthday celebration. It's going to be Dark Order and Hangman Page against the Hybrid 2 and the Chaos Project. And Nyla Rose takes on Layla Hirsch, and Jon Moxley will be in action. So, that is your Dynamite lineup for next week. Oz, I was just asking, I didn't know if he was being serious or not. And I assume he wasn't. And so, you got to kick his ass out. Can't be having that. Can't be having that. That we don't joke about that kind of stuff here. Let's go to the polls. AEW getting a very positive response from you guys to the tune of 80%. Look at that. 80%. 80% thumbs up. And right around 20% thumbs down. And over on the NXT side, we've got same old song and dance. Feels like every week. 64.6% thumbs up. 35.4% thumbs down. Go ahead and vote. At Solomonster. At Solomonster. That is the place to go. If you want to vote in the poll, drop me a line on there too. Drop me any feedback, questions, comments. Ryan Spies, hoping that Danny Limelight gets signed. He is great. Do we have a lot of Danny? Has he been making a lot of appearances on Dark? I'm not really that familiar with his work. Really outside of what we saw tonight. So you're going to have to fill me in on that. Danny Limelight. I got to look this guy up and see if that's the name that he's always used. Danny Limelight. Anyway. Let's see. Who else we got here? Who else we got, huh? We got Magician Sapphire with the $10. Does Teabag win sad tweet of the week for the stole my finish tweet? I think everybody involved in that conversation wins for sad tweet. That whole thing was just pathetic. I'm not even going to acknowledge it on Sunday. Ian Israel, thank you, man. Thank you for the support. I appreciate that. Darby Allin is made of flubber. Flubber? What is flubber? I've heard of rubber. Heard of blubber. I don't know that I've heard of flubber, though. That's a new one. One and only. Darby needed a big match like this. It feels like he's been in the stands since he won the title. Well, they said this is his first TNT title defense. And, he won the title a while back. So it was about time that we got him in the ring in a main event like this. I agree. Jackalope, looking forward to Britt versus Rosa. Jared M with the $45. Too much Sting. Needs to take a few weeks away. I wasn't sure there. You got to specify there. You having some kind of urinary tract issue here? You should probably see a doctor about that. All caps, too. It's like he's yelling at me. Too much Sting. One and only. Do you think it's strange there was no mention of Hard to Kill? Well, they did mention. I mean, maybe they didn't mention it by name. They did have a mention, though, of the pay-per-view, though. They didn't give specifics. That was weird, but I guess, look, they're not going to promote someone else's pay-per-view outright. But they did acknowledge it. They did mention that there is an event coming up. It says, feels like a missed opportunity to not have Swan come out and attack Omega. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. The fact that we never saw the Motor City Machine Guns or Rich Swann. Again, this show was taped last week. It's entirely possible that maybe they just couldn't get him. It would have made sense, though, to have him make an appearance. Or, you know what? He doesn't even have to make an appearance in the arena. Maybe they have some kind of a promo that he sends in. He wants to address Omega and the Good Brothers, and since Omega took it upon himself to show up in his backyard, he wanted to take a few minutes to show up on Dynamite. They could have done something like that and spliced it into the show. Rodimus Prime with the 55. Look at that. I missed that one earlier. That one is deserving of some confetti right there. Thank you, Rodimus, with the $55. That is the biggest one of the night. Another awesome show in the books, he says. Baker versus Rosa is going to be a good one. That's going to be a test for Britt Baker, too, because I feel like Britt Baker has yet to have that one really good singles match in her AEW run. Really hasn't had that yet. I don't think Britt Baker has really had that one great match, period, in her AEW run. She's improved from the stuff at the very beginning, where she was just, let's be honest, she was awful. She was having some terrible matches. I'm going to be very interested to see how she hangs, because Rosa is probably the more experienced of the two. how does she match up with her? You know, is she going to look like a fish out of water? Or is she going to hang with her? You know, move for move, hold for hold. I don't know. It's going to be a test, I think, for Britt Baker when that match finally happens. Oz and Glorious. How come everyone whining about how in shape Jericho is or so quick to praise Kingston when he's been dumpy for 20 years? I think everybody pretty much acknowledges that Eddie Kingston looks the way he looks. I mean, you know, he's not. I don't know that Eddie Kingston has ever been known for his physique. He's been known for his mouth, his promos. And he's as sharp now on his promos as he's ever been. Born Sinner. Matt keeps pouring his essence into Rebby's vessel. He's pouring something in there. The cheeseburger. Maybe he's putting cheeseburgers in there. I don't know. Today's AEW Dynamite was weird as fuck. Reba's laugh, shaking my... Oh my God. Now, I know it's intentional, but I hear Reba's laugh, and it reminds me of Fran Drescher, and I cannot stand Fran Drescher's laugh. Thankfully, we don't really see her anymore. Maybe she's retired. But when she was still doing the nanny, I would constantly hear that laugh. Oh, awful. Awful. That's what her laugh kind of reminds me of a little bit. You know who else has a weird laugh? And she's very attractive. People talk about, Maria Menounos. And I had heard about her laugh, and I'm like, well, how bad could it be? And then I heard her laugh for the first time, and I thought, wow. Yeah, now I know what people were talking about. It is, yikes. Yeah, some people just have a weird laugh. I have a weird laugh. You can hear my laugh at the beginning of the podcast every week. I put it in the intro. That was when I lost my mind watching Monday Night Raw. I went crazy. I sounded like the fucking Joker. And that was a legitimate laugh. That was from like deep within. If I ever laugh like that again, that's a bad sign. Run far away. It might make for an entertaining review, though, because it probably means I didn't like the show I just watched. That doesn't happen very often. But yes, that was the one night I absolutely lost my mind. The True Heel Master, Jake Hager or Baron Corbin as your lecturer for class. Well, Baron Corbin's I would actually go Baron Corbin on that. I actually think he would be better. Speaking is not Jake Hager's specialty. O'Jolly. What's going on, O'Jolly? O'Jolly Burgos, may I have your honest opinion? What do you think is the ceiling for someone like Sonny? And do you ever see an openly gay male world champion as a legit possibility? I think anything is a possibility. Sure, I don't see that as being as much of a hindrance as it would have been years ago. Times are different now. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe that would have been an issue. But then again, you talk about openly gay people. You had somebody like Pat Patterson who publicly, maybe he wasn't openly gay, but people in wrestling knew, and he was a big, big star. I mean, if Patterson was younger when he started working for Vince, he could have been champion. The fact that he was a gay man, I don't think that would have stopped that from happening, but that was the exception. There were some exceptions like that, but it was just a lot harder back then. Today, I don't know that would be, I'm not saying it wouldn't be an issue. I'm just saying I don't think it would be as much of a hindrance as it would have been in a different day and age. As far as Sonny Kiss, what the ceiling is for Sonny Kiss, I don't think it's very high. I think Sonny Kiss is talented. I first saw him in Lucha Underground when he was Exolicious, right? I think that's what he called himself in Lucha Underground. And I remember praising a lot of his matches. I was impressed. He had a very interesting offense in his matches. But that was also a heavily edited show. But I thought he came across well on that show. Did I ever see Sonny Kiss as a candidate for Lucha Underground champion? No. And it had nothing to do with how he was dressed or anything like that. It was the fact that he wasn't booked to be a serious contender for the championship on the show. Sonny Kiss has not been booked as a serious contender on this show for the AEW title. Do I think Sonny Kiss will ever be the AEW champion? No. And that has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that when I look at the pecking order on that show, and I look at the different people on the roster, some people I look at and I say, you know what? That guy has the potential to be the world champion, or in the women's division, this woman has the potential to be, the leader of the division. I've never gotten that feeling with Sonny Kiss. I think he's a part of the roster. Like, look, Joey Janela, okay? Now, Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela have been linked together as partners for a long time. Joey Janela puts on the spring break shows and everything, and he's been very successful putting on these independent shows. Joey Janela, when he came into AEW, actually had some buzz around him. He was kind of a name, right, as far as coming from the independent scene. And he's had a couple of good matches. He had the one with, I think, Omega, and then one maybe with Moxley. That was a long time ago. And ever since then, he has done nothing. And now when I watch him, do I see someone like Joey Janela contending for the AEW World title? No, of course not. Of course not. I don't see him as a contender, and I don't see Sonny Kiss at that level either. Will they get there someday? Probably not, I don't think. I just don't think that, it's going to happen. But look, I've been proven wrong before. Would I like to see it happen? It's not something I'm burning to see. But I would feel the same way about Janela. I would feel the same way about Colt Cabana. There's certain people on that roster, they're good players to have, but no, I don't see the world title in their future or main events in their future. I just don't see it. And that's fine, that's some people on the show have a certain place on the card, and that's where they're slotted, and that's probably where they'll just end up being. I don't really see the ceiling being overly high for Sonny Kiss. Yahia with the $5 super chat. No message, just supporting the channel. Very nice. I appreciate that. Zaphide. I'm going to assume the B is silent. Zaphide with the $6. Buy a Nintendo Switch, buy Wrestling Empire, and thank me later. Well, I have a Nintendo Switch. I bet you didn't know that. I have a Nintendo Switch that I spent $400 on. This was probably, I don't know, year and a half ago, 2 years ago. If I have spent more than 6 hours playing the Switch, I would be shocked. My brother basically commandeered it. I really bought it for Mario Kart. I wanted to play Mario Kart. I wanted to play Mario Kart multiplayer. I really wanted to do Mario Kart for Sound Off Gamer. And then I couldn't figure out how to do it because I didn't have the capture card. And then I heard they're really strict about their content and gameplays, and they were striking people's channels. And it's like, you know what? It would have been fun, but I'm not getting involved with that. So that reminds me, I have to get back to my Nintendo Switch. Play some Mario Kart. But this Wrestling Empire, I haven't heard about this. I will have to look into that. Wrestling Empire. Yeah, 400. I'm pretty sure 400 is what I spent. I felt like an idiot because I bought it and then I wasn't even using it. And I bought some games. I bought what did I buy? I bought Doom. Right? They repurposed Doom, and they put Doom out for it. There was some other game that I bought. This is why I don't buy gaming consoles, because I just don't have the time for it. I'm always doing shit. I'm always working on something. I never leave time for myself really for anything. I have a watch list of TV shows and movies. I still haven't seen Joker. Everyone's telling me, oh, have you seen it yet? No, I haven't seen it. I have to sit down and I have to force myself to watch because I never have time. Although I finally started a new show. I'm going to try to stick to it. This show, Coyote, with Michael Chiklis. Anything with Michael Chiklis or Bryan Cranston, I'm all in. So I started the Bryan Cranston show from Showtime, Your Honor, it's called. And Michael Chiklis, it's like he's a Border Patrol agent or just retired Border Patrol agent. I just watched the first episode yesterday. Anything that he's in, because he was on one of my all-time favorite shows ever, The Shield. So anything he's in, I will watch. But man, I got a watch list the length of my both my arms of shit that I have to watch. I'm still on episode 1, season 1 of The Mandalorian. I've only watched the one episode. I have to catch up. The Sky Genie channel. What should get you excited to watch Impact and get you excited? Josh Matthews leaving commentary. That will draw when he is finally gone. I don't know if you were drunk when you put that super chat together. It was very disjointed, but I think I understand what you were saying. And yes, I am very excited by the news of Josh Matthews moving on to a different position. But is it going to get me to watch Impact? No. No, it will not. Oz and Glorious, how much longer are we going to have to suffer through Britt Baker before Adam Cole is buttered up enough to sign with AEW and put us out of our misery? I don't think Adam Cole's going anywhere. Sorry to say. Joe Oliva with the $20. Thank you, Joe. Britt Baker waiting room show full of cringe. Not as good. But nice setup for Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker announcement. Thunder Rosa, I think, will lose, but will get a rematch and win at Revolution. Hey, I can almost guarantee you there's going to be more than one match. So Rosa losing the first one, winning the second one, that's pretty much a sure. I would say that's a sure bet. Food Hive, cooking up a super chat, says he's late to the party. Well, what else is new? He's always late to the party. Always late to the party. If you were on that Hell's Kitchen show, man, Chef Ramsay, he would read you the riot act. He would rip you a new asshole. Oz and Glorious, I love how Lance Archer only gets 13 seconds of TV every 2 weeks, but I have to sit through Britt Baker's garbage on Dynamite and Dark every week. I'm getting the sense that Oz and Glorious does not like Britt Baker very much. You do make a good point, though, about Lance Archer. I'm starting to wonder if he's got some kind of clause in his contract that prevents him from wrestling, but if he wrestles more than a certain amount of time, they have to pay him extra or something on his contract. It is very strange. Food Hive, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 was awesome. Oh, come on. I'm not sure if I'm not sure what's worse, if that concoction we were talking about a few weeks ago. What was it? The fried Oreos and what was it? Mac and cheese Oreos or something. I'm gonna gag just thinking about it. I'm not sure what's worse, if that's worse or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. By the way, you can't see it. It's being blocked. I'm not really big on, buying action figures or anything. When I was a kid, obviously. But I learned of a commemorative figure from the NECA website. NECA has some tremendous figures from movies and TV shows and stuff, and the level of detail, it really is awesome to see. And they have these figures that are like 6, 7, 9-inch scaled in some cases of like famous movie characters and stuff. And they had one for Super Shredder from Part 2. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this thing is fucking awesome. This thing apparently it's like 9 inches tall, level of detail on it. It's got the canister of ooze and everything. And I was like, I shouldn't. It was like $50. I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. But they had a pre-order for it. And I said, yeah, fuck it. I'm going to order it. So I put the pre-order in for it. August 22nd, I put my pre-order in for this thing. It only came the other day. But I finally got my Super Shredder. This thing is amazing. Honestly. Now that I have it, on display, like in front of my face, it really is. I mean, it's like, it's gigantic. This figure is gigantic. But I don't know. I mean, Super Shredder always had a place in my heart when I was a kid. It's so weird. I mean, The character was literally in the movie for like maybe 90 seconds. And then he dies. And we never see him again. But yet, he lives on. You know? Kevin Nash's best role. That's right. That's right, Ant, in the chat. It was Kevin Nash. Or I think in the credits, they listed him as Kevin Clash for some reason. But yes, Kevin Nash was Super Shredder. But this thing is awesome. It really is. I would show it to you, but I'm too lazy to get up. The True Heel Master. I like the way Ricky Starks called Sting Stinger Man in a cool, fresh, and hip way during a Team Taz segment last month. Yes, because remember, Taz, or Sting, I should say, Sting being on Dynamite is cool, fresh, and hip. I forgot who said that. Well, was it you? Maybe it was the True Heel Master. Or Oz and Glorious, or one of you guys. I still can't believe you said that, by the way. I don't think Sting has been called cool, fresh, and hip in about 25 years. He comes to Dynamite, all of a sudden he's cool, fresh, and hip. I mean, come on. Let's be real. I like Sting, but let's not go overboard. I believe AEW is slowly giving Sting and Miro a good solid push without pressure. Not too worried at all. Well, I, for one, hope that Sting can finally get that big push that he's been waiting for. I think of all the young guns they have under contract right now, I hope Sting gets the big push. Hashway, thank you for the 10. Maybe this is a silly question. There are no silly questions here on these streams. Only silly people. Why WWE does not have time limits in matches like AEW, New Japan, and other promotions? Well, because WWE hates wrestling. They don't do wrestling. They do sports entertainment. Jim Ross worked there for years and years, and he's told the story. He used to argue all the time for time limits, because Jim Ross comes from the old school, Mid-South, NWA, and he was always a big proponent for time limits in matches. And it just wasn't something that WWE and Vince McMahon were interested in. I'm a big fan of the 20 count that New Japan uses in their matches instead of 10. You know, here it's like you count to 10, you get counted out. There, it's a 20 count. It makes so much more sense because that way you're counting at a more normal pace, right? It is kind of weird if you have a WWE main event, let's say, and the referee is going 1, and he's taking his time, 2. It would make more sense to count at a normal pace. 1, 2, and go all the way to 20. And as you get closer to 20, when you get to like 15 to 20, they have I think the ring announcer on the house mic calling out the numbers, which is another thing I like. And he's getting more excited, and he's getting more excited and more animated as he's getting closer and closer to 20 until finally the guy rolls under the bottom rope. I just think it adds to the drama of the match. I'd like to see them adopt that here in this country. I'd like to see AEW do that. I'd like to see WWE do it. I think it would add drama to a lot of the big matches. Food Hive. Britt versus Shayna was great when she broke her nose. That's right. I had forgotten about that match. Marcus Metcalf, that Britt Baker Hikaru Shida was Britt's best match when Britt broke. Wow, we got the same super chat. I thought I was reading the same super chat by accident, but in fact, they came from two different people, 1 minute apart. I was corrected in real time, almost verbatim, by two different people who had the same thing to say. But Marcus, I like you more because you donated 5. So thank you, Marcus. I'm gonna give credit to Marcus on that. Christian with the $1.99. Limelight is great on New Japan Strong. Well, I may have to check that out because, like I said, I'm not familiar with his work. HBK C83. Please forgive me for going off topic here, but as a sad Mets fan from Queens, I'm hyped about the Francisco Lindor trade to the Mets. How are you feeling about that? Well, I will show you how I'm feeling about that. Let's bring out the confetti. That's how I'm feeling about it. I'm feeling pretty goddamn good about that. I'm very optimistic, which is not a word I use very often when I talk about the Mets, but I am cautiously optimistic about our future. I think we're not, it's going to be a little while, I think, before we go all the way, but I have a good feeling. I have a good feeling about where we're headed. And a few months ago, I wouldn't have said that. But I like the moves that Steve Cohen has been making. True Heel Master says, buy Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Did you watch Unsolved Mysteries Season 2? No, I have that on my watch list. I want to watch it. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I enjoyed the first half of Season 1. The only thing is, when I watch those episodes, it stays with me. And it just really bothers me. Right? I'm sure you feel the same way about some of those stories. It's just so frustrating. Like, you want a resolution, you don't get the resolution you're hoping for. And some of the stories are just so sad, and it just kind of it haunts you in a way. So I just know when I watch the second half of the season, it's going to put me in a really, not a bad mood, but it's going to put me in like a really dark mood. But I do want to watch it. Oz, buy Streets of Rage 4 for the Switch. It was the old Sega Genesis game Justice and then some. Spanish Goddess, did you see EC3's new promo? Also, here's a prediction. I think Ricochet will team up with Matt Sydal in AEW this year. Well, anything is better than what he's doing now. I think if you had Ricochet teaming up with Danny Limelight and Griff Garrison, it would be better than what they have him doing now. And no, I think you may have been the one who tweeted me, but I did not yet watch the EC3 promo. Skywalker with the $15. Thank you, Sky. I'm very disappointed that you did not mention the amazing pose down on Monday Night Raw back in January of 2003 between Triple H and Scott Steiner in your This Week in Wrestling History. I can only take so much. Remember, I have to review Monday Night Raw on the podcast every week. So, This Week in Wrestling History, I enjoy very much doing that segment. And certain things are just better left unsaid. Although we got a big one coming up this week. We got the debut of Monday Night Raw. We got the barbershop window incident where Jannetty tried to dive through the window to escape. There's a lot of stuff coming up in history this week. Hashway, sorry I don't ask questions about the show, but I can't watch it live because of the time zone difference. I just want to show my support for you and your work. I know that. You mentioned that previously. You are not in the States, and so I think it's actually very early where Hash is. And I appreciate that. Just you being part of the live stream, man, that means a lot. Oz says Kevin Nash at his best in John Wick. And I didn't say Sting was cool, fresh, and hip, but I love him. He was great in that music video. Did you did you see it? No, I did not. I know I said I was going to, and then I forgot to look it up. The True Heel, you sense a pattern here with me. I have a lot of stuff I have to watch that I watch too much wrestling. That's what it is. I'm not done with Raw from Monday night. I can only digest that show in little bits and pieces. That's why I don't go live when Raw goes off the air. I can't do it. I just can't. I can't do it. And I know it would be great for the YouTube channel because everybody is always looking for a Raw review when Raw goes off the air. Look, never say never. Maybe one day. I know it's not ideal when I finally get to talk about it. It's 6 days after the fact. I wish it could be different, but I can only take so much. It's only so many hours in the week. But to watch Raw these days, I just have to watch it in bits and pieces. The True Heel Master. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a million times. By Outcast. Yes, I know the song. Was there a point in mentioning that, or was that just, you just happened to be listening to the song? I do know the song. And now we are caught up. I did not think that was going to be the last Super Chat, but okay. You got me to sing a verse from an Outkast song. It's like that guy who Super Chatted once and got me to sing part of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? We got 79% thumbs up. That's what we got for AEW. And over on the NXT side, just a little bit less. 63.9% thumbs up. We have Michael Cole in the chat saying that that is a stupid song. I don't think Michael Cole should be lecturing people on what's stupid and what's not. Michael Cole. But thank you for joining us tonight. Ryan Spy says, hoping that Danny Limelight gets signed. He is great. Did I read that? Oh, I read that already. I thought Ryan sent something else in. All right, now we're all caught up. But yes, he's very hopeful that Danny Limelight will be signed. Silver Rules. I don't know that people are ready for that. I don't think they want me singing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't think they're ready for that. So again, if you joined the stream late, I want you guys to, when you're done here, it would mean so much if you headed on over to the other video here on this channel, the top 10 matches of 2020, ranked from number 10 all the way down to number 1. And let me know what you think in the comment section if you have a list of your own. Had a few honorable mentions there at the very end. It was hard. It's always hard to put a list like this together because there's always more than 10. 10's a good number to stick to. And to get that down, usually I put the list together. I have 15 to 20. And then you got to chop it down, and it's tough. But I think it's a pretty good list, and you guys will let me know what you think about that. Shout out to our old buddy Zinfamous HD, who I know is following on Twitter. Got to thank him for this gem here. We usually, when we come toward the end of the stream, we do a little randomization here, see what kind of match we can come up with. Just a little fun thing here to do. I just love hitting the button on this thing. This is to me, this is the coolest tweet in the world. I love this thing. So let's see who we pick. What match are we booking this week? Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, who's been doing very well for himself in New Japan. Who is Will Ospreay? Going to be wrestling at WrestleMania next year? Let's see. Heath Slater. Heath Slater and Will Ospreay. Man, Zinfamous, you are killing me, man. These matches that I have been booking are no good. No good at all. Oh my God. Good Lord. Anyway. Thank you to everybody who sent it a super chat. It does mean a lot to me. I appreciate that. And again, thank you for the 61,000. Hopefully we'll be on our way soon enough to 62. And the only way to do that, though, is to get you guys to subscribe. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please, by all means, hit that sub button. Make sure notifications are turned on. That's very important. Hit like on this video, too. I don't mention it enough, but it does help these videos out after the fact, especially in the recommended column. So hit the like button if you like the stream tonight. I'm going to be back with you on Sunday for episode 687 of the Solomonster Sounds Off. And of course, a week from tonight, AEW Dynamite is going to be live again, and I will be live. I'm live more than AEW is. AEW is taped this week, but I'm going to be live again next Wednesday at 10, talking about the show. And I think that's all I got for now. I think that's all the business I wanted to get to. I'm sorry we didn't get to calls, but we'll save that for next week. I promise. We'll get back to the phone calls. Hash, thank you, Hash. You're the best, man. You're the best. Thank you. All you guys. Be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a fantastic week. And I'm going to go try to play some catch-up with all these things on my watch list that I've been meaning to watch. Maybe I'll go watch Joker. What time is it? It's midnight, and it's probably not a good idea. But I am going to get to it soon. I'll give you a little review here on the stream once I finally get around to watching it. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a great night. Mods, thank you. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Take care.